I'm fun to travel with, right? I'm not too annoying, am I?
No comment.
Come on.
No, you're pretty fun.
We had
to
a good
travel
time.
with. We had a good time. We had a great time. You are 95% of the time fun and 5% of the time a little annoying.
Yeah. You're 100% of the time fun.
I know.
You're listening to the Zero to Travel podcast, where we explore exciting travel-based work, lifestyle, and business opportunities, helping you to achieve your wildest travel dreams. And now your host, world wanderer and travel junkie, Jason Moore.
Hey, it's Jason here with ZeroToTravel.com. Welcome to the show, my friend. Thanks for being here, letting me bring a little travel into your ears today. This is the show to help you travel the world on your terms, to fill your life with as much travel as you desire, no matter what your situation or experience. And today, we have a notoriously difficult guest joining us. I have been trying to book this guest for many months. It feels like years. The irony is, I sleep next to her every night. I want to welcome to the show my wife of 11 plus years. Hard to believe. Anna Dorthe. Welcome.
Hi. Thank you.
Back to the Zero to Travel podcast. Why is it so hard to get you to sit down and do a pod?
I don't know. Maybe you should put up more perks for me or something. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we'll get on that right away. I try. All right. Well, I'm dragging
it's nice
you.
that you have a cup of coffee and a glass of water, and
I asked.
have
Oh goodness! Here we go. This is already. First of all, I brought this up to share. Anyway, we don't need to get into our domestic disputes here. What we need to do is talk about our recent trip. That's why I invited you, dragged you onto the show today, because we just got back from a couple weeks with some bases here and there, road tripping around the beautiful country of Norway. And my intention here, just so you know, and Dorthe, I've written out 7 lessons from road tripping in Norway, but my goal here is to, you're going to hear some stories from the road. You're going to hear Anna Dorthe probably make fun of me several times, which she usually does when she comes on the show, is she gets her shots in, let's put it that way. But also, I want to try to give you some travel tips and takeaways along the way that you can perhaps use or consider for your next adventure. And that's the intention here. So this is going to be a fun one. Nobody knows what's going to happen. This is totally unscripted. Anna Dorthe has not seen this little list I've put together. But of course, she's had her experience on the trip. I've had mine. And so this is our first time really digesting and talking about this trip. So anyway, I'm excited. Do you want to give everybody just a quick overview on what we did? And one last thing I'm going to tease out is that Norway is sort of notoriously perceived as very expensive, and of course it can be, and that's going to be a part of this too, is how we did this, in a not too expensive way, which may or may not be accessible to you depending on your travel style, but we'll get into all that. Okay, talk a little bit about the trip, and then we'll kind of go through these points. This is going to be a fun one. I want to hear it from your perspective, not just the geographic overview, but give us the overarching overview from your perspective.
Yeah. Well, we didn't really have like a detailed plan for the trip. We knew we were going to visit my parents and we were visiting some friends. It was kind of open. We were going to do camping. The kids were super excited about that. We packed a car and we didn't really know how long we would stay in each place and where we would go. So that was fun. And also, it's a X factor is the weather. In Norway, you have to expect all kinds of weather. So we packed for snow, sun, and wind and rain, basically. Mm-hmm. We knew we were going to which area, like basically, but not entirely.
Yeah, what would you call it? What would be the American equivalent of the area? Not the county, but the state, I guess you would call it. Trøndelag.
Yeah, Trøndelag. It's like the middle of Norway.
It's a politically defined area called Trøndelag.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And
it's kind of like a slim area between the north of Norway and what we call south of Norway, or Sør-Norge. It has mountains. It has the border to Sweden. It has forest, but it also have the fjord and the islands, and yeah. So it's a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we did technically dip into the north of Norway.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, we had to drive in there to get to one of the islands we went to.
And we were tantalizingly close to crossing the polar circle, which was our original plan, to go up to Mo i Rana and spend some time there. But what we realized was, well, we can get into this when we get into that stuff. I think, there's a balance between seeing certain things and also
being in the car a lot.
Yeah.
And having 2 kids with you, and the weather.
Yes. The weather is going to be coming up. So it was a great mix. I think that in some ways, and as we get into these, I'm going to break these down and we can have a little chat about it and share some stories. I think that in some ways, the more you travel, the more mistakes you make, because you can get kind of lazy in some regard. Some things you get better at, some things you get really good at, and then you don't do them for a while, and then you kind of forget how to do it, and then you mess up. Anyway, I think the difference is the more you travel and you make these mistakes as you go, if you want to call them that, I would say one of the things I would consider a mistake on this list. You also, the more you relax about them. You know what I mean? Like, you're just kind of, okay, well, we'll just deal with this, because you kind of have the travel experience. You're just like, yeah, well, we did this wrong, but next time we can handle it differently. Well, let's get into this. Let's start with the sort of the theme of the trip in some ways from a logistics standpoint, which was that this was an open-ended trip. In a way, we were going to visit your parents. We had some sort of set things. We were going to visit some neighbors at their house in their like holiday family home in Dorthe, which is this lovely area in Trøndelag. But we didn't have any hotels booked. We didn't have any campsites booked. And what I want to talk about are the pros and cons of that style. So anybody listening, if they've got a road trip or something else coming up and they're trying to decide, how much should I plan? How much should I not? I just wanted to hear from your perspective, what were some of the pros and the cons of the open-ended, like we don't have anything booked. We have a few friends and family we're staying with along the way. But besides that, it's pretty much open and we actually don't even know where we're going to end up. And then we ended up in some pretty cool places. But yeah, what do you think are some of the pros and cons there?
I think the pros is that you can be totally flexible. You can do whatever you want to. If it's rain one place and it's sunny another place, you can go wherever it suits you. With kids, you get to a point where it gets a little time sensitive maybe, because you need to find a place to stay at some point. So that can be the cons. And also that it can be booked out. We had that one night where we had to take a place we didn't really want to go, but we did it anyway because the other place was booked.
Which night?
That was the hotel night. But sometimes you don't even know even if you booked like 3 weeks beforehand or 3 months, it could still be booked out. This was also the main summer holiday season here. So that's something to think about. But we didn't have any problems with getting like a camping hut or like a tent. We camped on the mountain, so that wasn't like a problem. But I like that we can just plan it almost day by day when we're doing like a road trip like this. Mm-hmm. So I enjoy it.
Well, we definitely adjusted to the weather for sure. That was, just to give you some context, it was a heat wave in Norway, which is not something you hear every day. And like a good Norwegian, like every good Norwegian, Anna Dorthe was following the weather to the hour, I think, and giving updates. And, she would just randomly would be driving in the car and she'd be like, oh, it was just reported that this is the hottest place in Norway. Or, 2 hours later, I'd get another weather report. Maybe 5 minutes later. I don't know. Norwegians, it's so funny. When we were at your mom's, she's literally telling me the temperature outside, like on the average, maybe every 84 minutes, maybe less, maybe every like 41 minutes. She's like, oh, it's 22 grader no, in Norwegian. One of the pros to me as we went into it right away, because originally we were going to book an apartment and do like a thing with your parents. and then we were going to go visit them. We never did that, and there was some family stuff going on, and we weren't able to do that. And then so we didn't have to go and cancel anything. And that was cool. You mentioned this being the high season, which it is, and that was one thing I was actually a little bit worried about, because I'm like, is it going to be hard to find a place to stay? Sure, I'm sure there were some people traveling around Norway that had trouble finding certain places to stay in certain areas. We weren't necessarily on the main tourist track, if you will. And the thing about traveling in Norway and some of these countries where you have so much natural beauty, you can almost, you almost can't lose. Like everywhere you drive, you're seeing quite beautiful stuff, with the exception of that town we stayed in that nobody liked, I guess. What was the name of that town again?
Vardal.
Vardal, which is interestingly where the most lottery winners in Norway came from. So I think
it's a lie, actually. I don't know if it's true. I guess, but it didn't feel like the place where you were in a lot of luck.
It was like a place we stayed because we wanted to go to this place, Stiklestad, which is this Viking experience, which we'll talk about later. But we were there, and it was hard to find a place because of that. But I think that, overall, I was excited that you could just pretty much find places. And because we had the tent and stuff like that, and wild camping is legal in Norway, the first night we just pulled off on this high mountain pass and had this incredible campsite, even though there were flies biting us left and right. This is kind of what we thought we were going to do the whole time, is just find random places and camp. But the heat wave, it was just, you couldn't, even the cabins we stayed in were too hot.
Yeah, like when we stayed in the tent the first night, that was 900 meters above sea level, and it was still so hot. So it was too hard to do that. We would have just been way too hot. And also the fact that it's also very light during the night. You almost have the sun the whole time, even where we went, even if we didn't go up all the way north. That could be a hard thing too, that you wake up at like 3 o'clock and it's completely light again.
Yeah, it's a different challenges
Which
here.
we obviously could have planned better for.
Sure. I would say overall, and then I want to hear your final thoughts on this point, and then we'll move on. I was thrilled in the beginning at the prospect of going on an open-ended road trip, because it's not that I haven't done them in my life, because I've done a lot of them, but I haven't really done it too much with the kids. We have a 7 and a 9-year-old, and they're at the age now where it's just a bit easier. You don't feel like, you have to get them to bed at 7 o'clock or whatever. And it's just, it's a whole different ballgame. And parents listening, no. To have everybody in the car, the whole family, and then to just be like, we don't know where we're going. We don't know where we're going to end up, and have these little sort of family and friend stays plotted out, but everything in between was open. I really dug it. I thought it was awesome. And one of the moments I remember from that standpoint was being at our friends in Dorthe, and we woke up that morning when we were leaving, and we're like, we don't actually know where we're going. Like we don't have a destination. And so we started looking at the paper map, and like, what's on these islands? What is this? What's this up here? How far away is this? And we just sort of, we asked our neighbor friends, and we asked, I guess we just really consulted them. We're like, what have you heard? And then we went online a little bit, but not too long. And we just kind of picked the place, and we went. We ended up missing the ferry out to that island. The place was called Leka, Leka. And what a beautiful island.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have ended up there if we had planned this trip in some ways, I think.
Yeah. The thing we did was that we set a time limit, like how far we could drive. And that was 5 hours. And up there, it was about 4.5.
Yeah, we were right on the edge.
And we wanted to go a little further north. And it was super nice. Our friends recommended it. And because they have been recommended it, they've never been there. And it was a beautiful place.
Yeah, and the thing that they said, they're famous for these like stone
it's the
cabins.
Yeah.
And so we went online and then found this camping place that had stone cabins, and we were celebrating our son's 7th birthday. So we're just like, bam, I called up. They said they had it available. We're like, we're staying for 3 nights. And what was cool is we got to experience the island in a way that As a traveler, I would say like percentage wise, most people won't get to experience this way because of the heat. Usually this is a place that's cold and rainy and, known for this area of the country is known for generally not having the best weather all the time. And Trondheim, the city we were staying outside of, and these areas, we were swimming in the Trondheim fjord. We went out to this island. We had like basically a beach vacation there, which is super rare in Norway. And we had a beach vacation in Engedal, where you were from, like swimming at this beautiful lake in Femund National Park. And these types of experiences, you just don't have that kind of weather here all the time. So even though we were dying of the heat, sleeping in these cabins, no air conditioning, like super duper hot, hard to sleep and all that, on the flip side, we still got to experience these places in a different way.
Yeah.
In some ways.
Yeah.
Which was really cool.
Which also would have been nice, even if it wasn't that kind of weather. It was just a different experience. We were able to, like you said, have a beach vacation, actually, which wasn't really what we had pictured, but it was very, very nice.
Yeah, so I'm giving it a thumbs up to the open-ended, and don't let the high season intimidate you, although with the caveat that if you go to a tourist hotspot, you might want to book something ahead of time. And if you're sketching something like that out, if you plot out like a friend stay or a family stay, and maybe you just commit in your head to like, oh, we're going to do 1 night in a hotel or 2 nights in a hotel or whatever, a cabin, whatever your version is of that, then just kind of know that in your head and just pull the trigger when you feel like it's right for you. That's kind of my end on that point. Second point, I would say, and we talked about this with our friends because they recommended Leica and all that, and I would say that word of mouth still rules over AI, over Google. I just love that, we were looking at a paper map and like looking at these places, and then they're like, oh, we just kind of worked together and talked it out, and they had heard good things. And then we ended up going to Leica, this beautiful island, because of that. I just love a word of mouth recommendation.
Yeah, I totally agree. This was like not the primary source either. It was the secondary source in a way that said that it was a beautiful place, and it has been recommended to our friends. Absolutely. I think that listening to other people's experiences are the best. And also that taking up the paper map is very nice, and also good for the kids because they don't have to look at the small phone or whatever, which is super annoying with a map, I think. But like wrapping out this big map, or like we borrowed also my mom's road book, national road book, which also is very nice, that has information and recommendation about all the places around Norway, and maps. So you see where you are, and you learn, I think, a lot from that.
That reminded me of a bonus one. Remind me to share at the end. This is something you can do anywhere. Before we move on to the next one, Anna Dorthe, let people know I'm fun to travel with, right? I'm not too annoying, am I?
No comment.
Come on.
No, you're pretty fun.
We had
to
a
travel
good time.
With. We had a good time. We had a great time. You are 95% of the time fun, and 5% of the time a little annoying.
Yeah. You're 100% of the time fun.
I know.
Well, we made some great memories, and remember all the effort on the front end just to get out the door, because we had to buy this like rooftop thing for our car to fit everything, all the camping equipment, and get all the stuff set up and the gear and everything, which will lead me to my next point in a minute. The effort's worth it.
Yeah. I think you can say that with most things, though.
But, even when you travel a lot, sometimes it's just like, how much effort it is to kind of get everything prepared for a longer trip. And it is an effort. And sometimes for me, I'm just like, this is like a lot. Do I have time for this or whatever? But in the end, it's always worth it.
Yeah. And every time you get a little better and you...
What was your favorite memory from the road trip?
Oh, it's hard because I have many.
Well, just share one or two.
The long nights with good friends, and also Leica with the island with our kids, like swimming in the ocean with like crystal clear water, picking up stones, and also swimming with my kids in Femund, where I grew up, which hasn't been a place where you every summer can go swimming because it's way too cold. But it was actually very warm and nice.
Hidden gems in Norway.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was so fun being able to be at the beach with the kids. And our daughter, she loved to take these walks. We took these long walks in the ocean and collecting rocks and seeing our son just excited to be, you know, on the beach playing and having fun. And it was awesome. Okay. Well, maybe we should have the gear conversation. I want to talk about what I perceive as the biggest mistake from this trip. No, you're not getting out of here yet. I see you looking at your watch. We've got some potatoes cooking downstairs. We got some family coming home. Settle in. We still got some things to talk about, Anna Dorthe. Overpacking.
Mm-hmm. Well, you say overpacking. I would say more like we pack for different scenarios because the weather, as we talked about earlier, we didn't know it was going to be a heat wave. So in Norway, you can have a summer where you need to wear long johns and your down jacket and a hat, especially when you're camping. Or it can be like it was this summer, like a short sweater and hot. So you need to like pack for, I don't think we overpacked too much. I think we were just prepared for different scenarios.
We had piles of stuff. I could barely get that rooftop thing closed. We brought 4 hammocks.
Yeah, the hammocks was like, that was unnecessary. But the rest, we needed like everything. Except we could do better on, like, we didn't need the hammocks. We didn't need all the sleeping mats that we had. That is something that we can improve on. But the clothes, like, yes, it was too much warm clothes, but we didn't know.
We also had our son's birthday presents, to be fair, which took up some room. But no, we made mistakes. We can do better. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I just want to share a takeaway, which is what we did when we got home. We started making a list of things we wanted to buy to add to what we want for a trip like this in the future. And then we started making notes of the things we wouldn't bring next time and things like that. So while it's fresh, when you come home and you make some overpacking mistakes, I don't know how you want to do it, whether it's paper or in Google Drive or whatever, get the things down that you want to change so you don't forget and you do it better the next time. Because I got to tell you, like, it doesn't like ruin the trip for me or anything by any stretch. But there is a bit of an annoyance when I go to the car every day and it's just so full. I'm like, all right, how am I going to pack it so I can actually see out the back window?
But you also have to remember,
there's 4 of us.
Yeah, we're 4 and we have 2 kids that want to bring like some stuffed animals and toys and stuff. You brought your guitar. That is like the biggest thing except from our tent.
Wait, no, that's a necessary piece of
no, that's
travel
not.
equipment.
No, it's not. And
Absolutely.
What you didn't get, which you had to buy twice in 3 weeks, was your toothbrush. So, like, I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, to be fair, the guitar I was taking to leave up at your mom's, so I wouldn't have to travel with it next time. That was the long term. And, you know, you lose toothbrushes occasionally. I don't know where that other toothbrush went, to be honest with you.
No, this is a classic Jason Moore move. Anyway, I think
I try to have
we
good
could have
breath.
been a little better with the packing, but it wasn't too bad. And the tip with like writing down what you needed, what we were missing, and what we don't necessarily need is a good advice.
Your poor mother has given me about $100 worth of toothbrushes over the years, I think. I think for Christmas I'll wrap up like 3 or 4 toothbrushes, maybe 10. Give her just 10 toothbrushes. Be like, these are actually for me. When I come up and forget my toothbrush. All right. But at least I have fresh breath all the time. I find a way, right? Don't make that face. Don't make that face. Okay.
Again, no comment.
All righty. We've mentioned it a couple times, and I'm going to add it into the lessons learned, in which I always know this, but when it happens, it's always a joy, and I just enjoy it, and that is visiting friends. Visiting friends on a trip like this, or building a trip around that, or building it into your itinerary somehow. If you were planning something and you were like on the fence between like reaching out to maybe some people you haven't seen for a while, or like if somebody casually, like our neighbors kind of casually mentioned like, hey, would you guys maybe want to like visit us where we stay at this cabin? It's like a really beautiful place. And, you know, I looked at him and I was like, okay, I'm like one of those people that'll take you up on this. So, you know, do you mean it? Basically. And he's like, yeah, we would love to have you. So, you know, when somebody extends an invite like that, you can follow up and just be like, hey, like I would seriously maybe come. Like, are you sure it's cool? Or you could even mention the people that you're going to be traveling through their area. I just think like you get so much joy like having that as part of a trip. It's a really cool thing. And then you can kind of break off and do your own thing. And then you mix in like friends and family or whatever. It's just an awesome thing. So if you're listening and you were on the cusp of like planning something and thinking about that, I just wanted to throw that out there as a thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And you get to spend quality time with friends and family. So absolutely. Maybe that should be like a thing, like every year you should visit one of your old time friends or family members.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as a bonus, if they don't mind, at least like in your parents' case, we kind of used your parents' area as a base in a way. So we were able to leave some stuff there. We took off from there. We only had to come back to there, so we didn't have to travel all the way back home. So if you build out a friends and family visit as like a base to explore, that can be another approach to setting up your itinerary. Okay. Something that happened on our trip, the hotel night in Vardal, the lottery-winning capital of Norway, which we ended up staying there because our friends that we had stayed with previously said, again, another word-of-mouth thing. I didn't know about this. You knew about it, but it was new to me. She said, oh, you know, we're thinking about going to Stiklestad, which is this really cool Viking experience where you can go and you can throw like battle axes.
It's a historical place.
Yeah, shoot arrows, and you have like the Viking longhouse, and they've recreated it. So you get to see what it was like during Viking times and how they lived.
And it was the most like historical Viking battle of the Norwegian history.
Yeah.
So you have to add that to it.
Please, well, yeah, give us the background.
No, that's just...
Give us the background. Give us the background. People might want to see.
It's in 1030. It was the most historical battle. The king was
Are you
murdered.
Annoyed that I didn't mention that first?
No, you just have to. I think that's more important than there is a place you can have a battle. Like you have to frame it the historical. It's a very historical place in Norway.
Yeah,
it's not just like a...
That's why you're here, to fill in those gaps, Anna Dorthe. So fill in that gap.
No, I just
historical
did.
battle.
I just did.
Oh gosh, here we go.
I just did.
Well, anyway, we got to recreate that battle, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
And I was.
You were Kong Olav.
Who died in the battle.
Yeah.
And I would say maybe an Oscar-winning performance. I was expecting my death scene when that kid came and chopped off my leg, and then the other kid came in and stabbed me in the throat with the pretend weapons, and I died on the rock, which I was instructed to do, and I breathed my last gasp of breath. I could have sworn that Martin Scorsese was going to call after... All right, anyway.
It's another no comment moment.
Anyway, it was fun. We got to do this fake battle, and I think there was a German boy who was about 9 who hit you way too hard, and you had to tell him to settle down.
Yeah, he hurt my fingers.
He hurt your fingers. But cool place. And we ended up getting a hotel there because we needed to be in the area in order to do that. It was sort of like a thing we did on the way home, another unexpected word of mouth thing that we didn't think about that somebody mentioned, and then we ended up doing it, which was cool. But we stayed in the hotel, and we thought, finally, we're going to get some relief from this heat. We've been sleeping in 30 plus degree cabin weather, like sweating. Yeah. And then it would be high 80s, low 90s type of sleeping. We're going to enjoy air conditioning for a night. We're going to go out and get a meal. We're going to do all these things. And so we got there. I turned on the air conditioning, and we said, let's go out to eat. And when we come back, we're going to lay on these beds. We're going to hold our hands behind our heads. We're We're going to kick back, relax, and chill in the AC and have an awesome night's sleep. And we got back, and it was the same temperature. It was maybe a little hotter. It was like 27.1 degrees Celsius on the thermostat. Now,
and no windows. That was out in fresh air.
Yeah, no windows because it was in sort of like a shopping mall thing. So it had the sun beating down. You couldn't even, unlike the cabins, which we stayed at for about, if we had brought our own sheets, that's another thing. We would maybe spend like $40-$50 a night for a cabin. You could at least open the window and get some kind of breeze, barely, but you got something. Here, you couldn't even do that. And I'm not one to necessarily complain a lot to accommodations and things like that. But I must say, I will use the word entitled. I felt entitled to some kind of refund. That was the sole reason we rented the hotel, was to escape the heat, to get in a temperature-controlled room. More than the shower, more than the bed, more than anything, we wanted to be in the air conditioning.
Yeah, have one cool night.
Yeah, and this hotel was wasn't a great hotel. I'm not going to mention it because I don't need to throw them under the bus. And it's not like a hotel chain I wouldn't stay at again because we've had good experiences there. But, it was like $250 for a night.
Yeah, it was expensive. The room was
random,
nice.
It was crazy.
Anything wrong with that. It was just that the air condition didn't work.
Yeah.
And the location and yeah.
So I wrote the manager, and I just decided basically I'm not going to ask for a full refund, but I'm going to say, I think it's fair. We'll pay, we would have paid to be in a cabin anyway. So we would have paid like $500 to be, not 500 Norwegian, which is like $50. We would have paid $50 to be in a cabin. So, this is the reason why we wanted to stay in a hotel. We'll pay the same we would have paid in a cabin. Can you just refund us the rest type of thing in a nice way? And she ended up writing back and saying that she would refund the whole thing. And we actually just got the refund. I got an alert on my phone yesterday about it. So the lesson I want to share is just ask for the refund. If you feel like you paid for a service that didn't deliver, and you can do it in a nice way, and you don't have to necessarily be a Grinch about it, but definitely ask, because if you feel like you didn't get what you paid for, you should go ahead and
if it's right, effort, but you shouldn't be like a pain in the butt
that's what
either,
I'm saying.
if it's only if it's if it's a correct.
Yeah. So one thing I wanted to add, the guy at the front desk couldn't really do anything for us. He said he couldn't anyway, and I don't think he could. And then I asked for who the manager was, and then I asked for the manager's card so I could get the manager's email and email the manager directly. And that's the tip I want to share if you do end up asking for a refund. Instead of trying to go to the general customer service for the hotel chain or whatever, try to get the person that's in charge of the place their personal email and send them a personal note. That's what I would recommend. Okay. Two last things, then we can get out of here, Anna Dorthe. The weather is a huge factor. We don't need to harp on it, but I wanted to bring it up as one of these things because especially in a Scandinavian country or some of these places where you go, the weather can be very predictable. If you go to Central America during a certain time of the year, it might rain every day, or it's going to be warm enough that you're mostly not going to wear, pants, except maybe at night sometimes. So you can pack accordingly. It's a little tricky when you're in a place like Norway, but more importantly, from the outside the packing is the experience part of it. And so if you're going to a place like Norway where the weather can be a bit unpredictable, you do want to kind of structure your itinerary in a way that there's some flexibility, I would say. Especially here, you can't count on that you're going to do this particular hike on this particular day because it might be raining cats and dogs out and you just can't do it. So the more you can kind of leave yourself open in places like this where the weather's unpredictable, and you go in a place you want to do a certain hike or something, if you're spending a few days there, make that a floating day. You know what I mean? Would you have anything to add to this? Just because you've dealt with so much Norwegian weather and travel.
I think you always have to have attitude where you have to be a little flexible. You have to always have to consider the weather and safety, basically. And then be open-minded about that. maybe turns out differently than you planned for.
Yeah. Okay. Last one, and then I'll share the bonus one, and then we'll let you go on your way. You can travel cheaply, even in the world's most expensive countries. So I wanted to just bring that up. Although we live here and we have certain, resources at our disposal, like, we have all of our camping stuff here and we can just throw it in the car and everything like that. You might not have that, but there is always a way. I mean, I spent a month in Hawaii once and didn't spend a lot of money because I was camping for $5 a night. A lot of this involves camping, staying at campsites. You can still stay at campsites and stay in cabins that I mentioned. If you even bought your own sheets, because a lot of these cabins require you to bring your own sheets, you can rent them, but that ends up getting expensive if you're going to just do a cabin trip. But you can show up at a lot of these campsites and get a cabin, and if you have your own sheets that you could buy when you land in the country, you could pay like $40, $50 a night for a cabin, and you can go to all these amazing places and just stay in cabins. You don't have to even bring a tent. Make a rental car part of that, or try to bus it to certain locations and then maybe rent cars, for a few days here and there. However you want to do it, it is possible. And I just wanted to throw that out there, is that, especially after the hotel refund, staying with some friends, mixing in the cabins. We did the wild camping the one night. We didn't spend a lot of money on this trip. Like, a lot of the money we spent was on the experiences, the eating out, maybe a couple souvenirs for the kids, like, paying for the Viking historic experience, to get tickets to that and things like that. That's what you want to spend your money on a lot of times, right? You're going to be out exploring anyway. So, you want to share. And I've had friends that have done, Norway and other countries like this cheaply. And again, it's not about like spending $3 a day or trying to whatever flex your budget travel muscles. It's just more about, it's possible. Don't let it hold you back. If you see a place you want to go and you feel like, oh, well, this is just expensive, don't just write it off. Like, actually look into it and figure out a way that you can do it that works for you, that works for your budget.
Yeah. I think this the camping sites has a lot of these nice small cabins, very affordable. You might have some, like, you have a stove you can make some food on, or you have like a common like kitchen and bathroom situation, which is also like you just make your food there. And it's social, it's nice, and you can have an affordable trip. Absolutely. It's some essential you should bring, like, for example, sheets, but also you can obviously rent it, and then you don't have to think about like to clean it or whatever. You get towels and sheets, and you can buy your own food, and there is like a small fridge, and it's a great way to get around. And you also get to these nice small places around, for example, Norway, and you see more than just the big cities, for example.
Yeah, more than just the Instagram places or whatever. You meet some interesting people that are staying at these campsites. You're always going to be waiting for a German to finish doing their dishes. That's probably a guarantee. True. You've got to do the dishes in the common area. No, remember that one guy? He just kept walking in and out, like he was trying to wash some, we don't even know what it was, and he would just walk out disappointed every time, shaking his head. It was kind of funny. Well, this leads me to my final bonus point. I'm holding, you mentioned the cabins and things like that. There's a whole thick magazine thing that I'm holding. It comes with a map and everything. It says Camping i Norge, camping in Norway. It's got summer like the summer to winter season. And you have like a directory of basically all of the campsites and different things, that places that you can stay in Norway. And this giant directory, paper-based resource thing was free, picked up at a tourist center. And that's my bonus tip. Those tourist centers where you can go and you can just, don't write those off and just get everything online, because I love to show up at those places. They have these great resources like this that are paper-based, like this giant directory I talked about. I've got a whole bunch of things here I picked up, like a whole magazine on exploring Trøndelag in the heart of Norway's history. Gives you some historical background, things to do. There's just some great resources there. I'm going to keep these in my little file that I have on Norway here in my office. But, hit those places up and get some of this stuff, and then use them to just find some cool random places that appeal to you.
Absolutely. Yeah. And they have a good knowledge, those that works there, and can maybe give you some inside tip too. So use them.
Yeah. Thanks for doing this.
You're welcome.
I know you were a bit, worried with the time crunch. We got a bunch of family coming in. We're making dinner. Literally dinner is cooking right now as we speak, but you made it happen. When are we going to have you back on the show, honey?
I'm just on right now.
I know, but all right. Well, yeah, we'll see, I guess. The countdown begins. Let's see how many months / years it takes. I usually wrap up the show with a quote, as you may or may not know. She doesn't listen to my podcast. She hears enough of me talking, on a daily basis, right? It's enough. You can only take so much of one person.
You're maybe right for once.
Do you want to leave us with any quote or any words, anything that you can think about that comes to mind?
No, I'll leave it to you.
Well, let me leave you with this one. I can't remember if I used this on the show before, from Pema Chodron, who said, "You are the sky, everything else, it's just the weather." Thanks for listening, and Dorthe had to run to get the doorbell, which just rang. So I'll be signing off here on my own. Appreciate you joining us on this one. Hope you had fun. Certainly had a blast. Hope you got some value out of this one. Don't forget our newsletter, zerototravel.com/newsletter. It's free. It goes out once a week. You can sign up over there. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time. Peace and love to you and yours. Cheers.
This podcast has been brought to you by zerototravel.com. Ideas and advice to make your travel dreams a reality.